So, Diane, when we spoke, pretty much within 5 minutes, I knew that you were a force of nature, you are changing the world, you are playing epic, iconic roles, and wherever you go, audiences and people seem to follow you. But your origin story was what sort of stuck with me, and what I felt like going home and telling my kids over dinner was that this glorious human probably dealt with more adversity than most of us in the room. So if you don't mind beginning with that, with where you come from.
Sure. My name is Diane Guerrero, and my last name means warrior. So just thanks, Mom and Dad. Started there. They're like, go ahead, go do stuff and defend yourself. And honestly, I am the daughter of immigrants. And why that is so, it's not my entire identity, but it certainly informs it. And I've been able to use that truth to really propel me forward in a time where the odds were really against me, and the odds are against a lot of people who go through family separation or just the systemic barriers that are in place for a lot of Black and brown women. I will speak from the Latinx experience because that's how I grew up. And I'm trying to be more specific than just saying women of color because I heard the other...
It's a big-ass category. It should not be that big.
You have to be specific, and although I always want to say women of color because I want to say I don't want to exclude anyone, but then I'm excluding other people who don't identify as women. So anyway, it's a big thing. You guys know about it. You'll learn about it later. I experienced something really crazy as a kid. I experienced my family separating through deportation. And I mean, it was as tragic as it can be. I come home from school and my parents are gone, and now I have to fend for myself. And so I was able to sort of use some tools that my parents left with me, some tools that I never thought were that valuable at the time. But of course, as I get older and as I put them to use, they kind of mean a little more than I thought. And they actually work in the grand scheme of things, and actually work more for than just survival. Right? And that, I think that I'm in a stage where I'm trying to work on that, is like moving past survival and living and owning yourself and your truth and everything that makes you who you are. I know that my parents' influence and my culture and how I grew up as a Colombian American, so having so much of my identity relying on my Latinx culture, my Colombian culture, but also I knew that being an American and having those values and fighting for everything that my parents worked for was a huge part of my identity as well, and was something that I knew was going to take me far. I didn't always know that. I knew that I had to work and stumble and figure it out as I went, and then life just informed me. But I was able to have an imagination and go out for things that seem impossible. And I'm not saying they seem impossible because I'm an actor or whatever. No, just living your life and saying yes to yourself is impossible, or seems impossible, especially when you're coming from a place with no family, no money, no direction, no one to really help you apply for schools, nobody to help you apply for grants, you're juggling 2 jobs. I just thought a little bit further while as I gave myself sort of small chances to beat the odds. And and when I say beat the odds, I mean beat the odds in getting a job at iParty. You know what I'm saying? Like that was huge for me. Oh wow, I got a job. Right? So you start there. Thank you. That's my friend who started clapping. You better stop it. We have 11 minutes. That's all we got. So I started seeing these little feats, really. And I'm not saying celebrate everything you do, because, you do a lot of stuff and some of it ain't good. Some of it is just all right. Some of it doesn't speak to you. That's okay to put it down. So I just saw that just by giving myself that chance, I was seeing a lot of things happen, good or bad, and they all informed me, and they all took me to the next step. And so I've sort of been following that model, and so far so good.
Doing really well. We're very impressed, and especially speaking with you and with the way that you kind of confront with authenticity, but and with unabashed honesty, some of the challenges, but also the tribulations. I find that's really, really refreshing. We were talking about trying hard and how it's, Yoda says there is no try, there's only do, which I take issue with. I think that trying really hard is fundamental to owning your space and creating your space. And I'd love to know about how you perceive a failure, your own, if you've ever had any. What do you do with the failure?
Well, look, I think that all failures are just us trying to get to know what fits and like what works with us, and like connecting those dots of like what makes us so special and so original to ourselves, and using that with some of your passions or some of your dreams. And I've noticed that it's never going to be perfect or quite what you expect, or maybe it is, and that's great. But most of the time, it's kind of like this mixture of everything that you are with what you learn and what you're going to continue learning. And if you give yourself that space, in my opinion and in my experience, beautiful things can happen. And even like taking this side of my work, we were also talking about like gigs, right? Side hustles. I said my entire career is a side hustle. Everything has been sort of throwing caution into the wind and seeing what happens. I'm interested in this. Well, I'm going to try it out, God damn it, because it is my right to try it out. I am here. I have this one life, and I want to try this out, despite what everything and everyone has told me, that I'm not enough, that I'm not tall enough, that I'm not white enough, that I'm not rich enough, that I'm not this enough. So I've been able to just give myself those chances and experiment and try things out. And it's been really great. Oh, I wanted to talk about segment into service and how I figured out, because that's also, I consider a hustle, right? A side hustle is like changing the world or trying to, or at least trying to make your mark or speak to a community, your community in particular, that maybe isn't often represented, or women like you who aren't often represented, and you feel a duty to represent, and how awesome that has felt for me. And it has opened me up in so many ways to try to tackle different ventures, maybe in the unscripted space. I mean, I'm talking very like, industry talk right now, like as an actor, but like going to the documentary space and maybe seeing what I can do there. I'm writing more. I wrote a book. I'm not a writer, but I did. I wrote a book. I told my story, and here I am sharing it with you. So it was just a matter of not limiting myself and letting myself try as many things as I possibly could. And then in regards to service, it has healed me in ways that I never thought could. Because I suffer from depression, because at the time that I even decided to be an actor or to try acting lessons, I was at the brink of maybe never existing ever again. And so those connections, that only takes you so far, and then you have to keep exploring to what makes you tick. And so now acts of service or this part of my side hustle helps me continue every day, and it helps with my mental health, and it helps me just want to be here more and want to work harder.
Well, thank you for all of that. Yeah.
Sorry, that was like a run-on sentence, but we only have 6 minutes.
It's very, very real
Very
and very appreciated. And so in terms of crafting that space, have you had to ask people for help? How do you do just literally many members of our community? I get it sometimes, and I love the women who come up to me and are like, here's the thing I want to do.
Oh my God.
Here's what I want you to do for me. How did you ask for help?
It's the key. It's the key. Ask for help. What are you, born knowing these things? No. It's you. That's why we are in this world. We are, and they try to tell us that we don't belong together. They try to tell us that we have to do all the work ourselves. No, we are put in this world to work together. At least that's how I see people who are super successful doing it. They just get mad when we do it. We have to do it, right? So I learned that very early on. Obviously, when my family was separated and I had to ask for help to, hey, can I stay in your attic until I graduate high school? And I apply to college, and hey, I met my friend Kelly in school, and hey, what do you know about applying to waitressing jobs? And she's like, I'll give them my number. I'll be your reference. Meeting another friend who was working for an agency, a talent agency. She was working with a kids talent agency. But I said, well, why don't I just meet with your boss anyway? I know she only takes kids, but I'm a kid too, sort of, a few years ago. So it's all that. Asking for help is so key, and I continue to learn that as I grow in this business and as I grow into myself a lot more. I can't do this alone. I've never done this alone. I learned this through the organizations that I work with for immigrant rights. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me, is knowing that I had a community and that I wasn't alone. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. So know that you're not alone. Anyway.
Well, we want that for you and for everybody else here. I know you're very much, this is a lot of applause. So moving over to, I know you're going to be like, no, but you're kind of exploding on the scene. There's a lot of, it's fun to do research on certain people because you're like, whoa, and there's a book and there's a potential film, and then there's a new program that's showed on the infowebs, and then there's iconic characters.
Did you say a nude program? Oh, a new. I wasn't privy to that
nude.
one.
No, it's a new, recently released Doom Patrol, and there's, you like forgot.
Going there in November.
But there's so much to read about, and you don't appear to have lived that long on the planet. So that means you're doing a ton quickly, efficiently. What characters or roles or projects you've taken on have really shaped your thinking about what you want to be in the world, what you want to do?
I think I came out swinging with Orange is the New Black as my first gig, and to be introduced to this world, this whatever Hollywood world is. Orange was so the opposite of that. So I think that I learned some good manners. I learned just some good behaviors when it came to storytelling and and just that feeling and then urge to, that want to be inclusive, that need to be inclusive, stemmed from there. The comfortability that I had to actually share my own story or to put myself in someone else's shoes, to not be ashamed of myself and where I come from, all started there. And I want to lead with that. And I have. It's interesting. I have. I'm working on projects that I love. I worked on Jane the Virgin. That was a beautiful moment in my career as well, working with a mostly Latinx cast and kind of showing the world that, hey, we are a regular family too, and we care about the same things that you do. We care about failure and success and having babies out of wedlock and all of the stuff that you worry about. We worry about that too. We worry about being writers and successful for our children. And to now, the role that I'm really proud of, that no one has seen, I'm sure, because it's on DC Universe and nobody has a subscription, but get one. It's called Doom Patrol, where I play a badass lady who has who has been abused as a child, so suffers from trauma, and now has 64 different personalities along with 64 different characters to match. And in there, I get to dive into the human psyche and trying to understand mental health, which also really applies to me. So I think from here, I can't really go back to being like gangster's wife number 2. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. Like, she can't anymore. So stop trying to send those breakdowns to me, agencies. No, it's not happening. So, and that honestly has opened my eyes to want to produce, to want to write, to want to open doors for fellow brothers and sisters who want to get into this business and who want to also tell passionate stories about their community and take up some space. So.
Well, I love, you're getting, wow, we would love you. So.
But really though, I got a lot of gangsters I actually did for like Blue Bloods once, but whatever. I had to do it. Did I though? I didn't know any better. We have to start somewhere, kids.
Okay. So in our last 1 minute, which I hate, what advice? Okay, we serve women who are diverse, who are running small businesses or trying to, who are, as discussed, who are often trying to make their side hustle, their passion, into a profitable enterprise. We serve women who are trying to model, to act, to get their screenplay screenplay bought and then turned produced, and okay. Long day. All of those
have them made.
All of those women share the thing that is this desire to and this aspiration to ascend, to do more, to be more, to own their space, to not be hurt by a lack of likes that might happen in a single afternoon on social media. What is you have great advice. I'd love to know if it's not the last advice you'll ever give to this room at all. We'd love to have you every time we have a stage. But what would you tell them?
I was like listening to you and I was like, yes, I believe in all of that and all these people. I leave you with this. Love yourself. I know it sounds cheesy and I know I'm mad people tell you this, but when you love yourself, you take care of yourself here and here, and you can move past anything. You can move past anything. The non-likes, the people who told you that the item of clothing that you're wearing is not like animal friendly, and you're like, well, I didn't know. It wasn't animal friendly. Sorry. But on a serious note, but like all of those, not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to be canceled. I know we talk about like that's a kind of a hot topic now, but a way to avoid that cancellation is by not even believing in that and not canceling that, knowing not you not canceling anything or anyone. And when I say cancel, don't cancel yourself. Don't rule yourself out. Don't take yourself out of the race before you even begun. My manager always goes, bless his heart, Josh Taylor. He always says, throw your hat in the ring and see what happens. Throw your hat in. Okay, so yes, so I'll stop talking here and I'll say throw your hat in the ring and see what happens. Time and time and time and time and time and again. Okay, Oprah started late. Mad people started late. What's that guy from The Sopranos? Started late, bless his heart. Tony Soprano started late as hell. He was a garbage man. Diane Guerrero, Gandolfini. Sorry. Whatever late or early it is, there's no time. Don't let time. Time is a construct. I know now I sound like a hippie, but really, like, don't let that. Try it out. See what happens. And then if you don't like that, and it doesn't work for you, not the other way around, move on to something else. Check that out. Yeah. All right.